9 News Mornings at 5 a.m. starts right now.
Kicking off your 5 o'clock hour with a live look outside. This is from our camera atop of the Four Seasons in downtown Denver looking west. Although you can barely make out the mountains right now, of course, with all that cloud coverage out there. Maybe as the sun rises, we'll start to see that. But that's the big question. Are we going to see the sun? That actually is going to depend a lot on what we see later in the day, because we are entering another day with a chance for severe weather. That threat is more in the southeast region of the state. Thanks for being with us. We got a lot to get to this morning. I'm Jordan Chavez.
And I'm Erica Lopez in for Corey Rose this morning, and that's exactly right. Potential severe weather across the state, mostly on the southeastern side, like Jordan just said. So we want to get straight over to senior meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Denver does have a threat as well, Chris.
Yes, and Erica and Jordan, it's going to depend on exactly what you're seeing behind me, right? And we were just showing you, look, here's Lookout Mountain, right? That cloud cover, that is going to be our saving grace today in terms of severe weather. If we're able to break out into full sunshine for 3-4 hours this morning, this afternoon is going to be a lookout kind of day. It's going to be one of those days where we have that higher risk for severe weather. We have a lot more wind shear, change of wind speed and direction with height compared to yesterday. We also have a lot more low-level moisture as well. So that will be the thing to watch for, is how much sunshine we're able to get this morning. That will be the key to our instability for this afternoon. So right now we're mostly in the low to mid-50s. We do have that higher risk for severe weather across southeastern Colorado from Denver on south and east. But again, in Denver, you notice that yellow, that is conditional. That will depend on how much sunshine we get this morning. If we get sunshine this morning, we're going to have quite a bit of hail this afternoon. If not, we'll have some fairly tame storms this afternoon. Southeast Colorado, though, that's where we have the higher risk for large hail and tornadoes. We'll have details on that coming up for you in just a few minutes. Want to send things over to Breon now for First Check and Track.
Chris, thank you so much. 5:01 is your time for this lovely Friday morning. We're taking a live look right now of I-25 and 84th Avenue. Right now, traffic very light across the Denver metro area, so you can see it right here on the south and northbound lanes. Sorry, guys. I do want to switch things over to our main maps real quick for those heading out the door. A lot of green on your screen, not seeing any slowdowns. And Denver to Boulder, you're looking at a 17-minute drive. Oh, my goodness. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. We'll get you some water, Brianna.
Yes, absolutely. Well, new this morning, we could be looking at another grocery store strike soon.
Yeah, that's right. So we've learned overnight that the union representing many workers at Safeway and Albertsons has voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike. 9 News reporter Jennifer Meckles is joining us this morning with a look at that vote. Jenny, good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm outside of a Safeway here in Denver. And yes, overnight we learned that from UFCW, that Local 7, that's the union that represents a lot of these grocery workers, that the workers with Safeway Albertsons have voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike. It was a statewide vote, and they tell us that at least here in the metro, 99% of the voting members voted in support of doing this. So these guys are ready and willing to hit the picket line if that's what happens next. Unclear, though, is if and when that's going to happen next. This is all happening against the backdrop of a number of different grocery chains going through contract negotiations with their employees right now. Here in Colorado, the union and the Safeway Albertsons grocery chain have been back and forth for months on a contract. At one point back in May, they even reached a tentative agreement. Everyone at the time said they're feeling really good about it. Not anymore. Now the union says they continue to push for better wages, better staffing levels, and better benefits. It's just not happening at this time. There are more than 100 Safeway Albertson locations across Colorado. So if we see a strike, we know the impact could be pretty big. You guys might remember there was just a strike with a different grocery chain back in February this year. That was Kroger with King Soopers. It was in February. It lasted about 2 weeks. And that grocery chain, those employees went on strike just a couple of days after voting to authorize a strike. So again, this morning, the vote to authorize a strike has happened. But actually, if and when we see some sort of a grocery strike at the Safeway stores in Colorado, yet to be determined. We have reached out to the Safeway team overnight to ask for their side of the story. What do you guys have to say? What's your response to this vote? Haven't heard anything, guys. Certainly it's middle of the night still, right? Not business hours yet, but that's something we'll continue to follow if we should have potentially 2 strikes in 1 year.
All right, Jenny, thank you so much for your reporting. We'll check in with you soon and maybe get some more updates. We know you've put those calls and emails out. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, King Soopers is heading back to the bargaining table this weekend with its union workers. Talks resume Saturday in Aurora after both sides agreed to extend a 100-day stand-down deal following February's strike. That agreement paused any new strikes or contract changes to allow time for negotiations.
Well, as the city of Denver prepares to lay off employees, Mayor Mike Johnston's administration is supporting a rule change that would allow them to lay off more senior employees in favor of newer employees with higher performance reviews. The city is facing a $250 million budget shortfall over the next 2 years. Denver is actually already doing furloughs and a hiring freeze. Layoffs are likely to start in August. Now, later this month, the Career Service Board is going to decide whether layoffs will be based on tenure or merit. As it stands right now, newer employees would get laid off first. The proposed rule would preserve the jobs of high performers instead.
This morning, a Colorado state senator is raising questions about the death investigation of CU Boulder student Megan Trussell. Democratic Senator Janice Marchman called on state investigators nearly 4 months after Trussell's body was found along Boulder Canyon Drive. The Boulder County coroner ruled that she died by suicide, but her parents told us they worry investigators ignored other possibilities. Marchman shares that concern. She even helped look for Trussell before her body was found. She's also concerned that CBI was not involved in the case despite issuing an alert. Now Marchman is asking the attorney generals for help to build legislation that would create best practices for future situations.
I'm certainly going to be stakeholding with sheriffs and coroners and, local and state, all kinds of law enforcement agents. But I would really love his guidance in what are some standard operating practices? What are some good guardrails? What's too far of a reach?
Marchman says she's also been in touch with Trussell's family for their input on the legislation that she's writing.
And officials with Denver Public Schools are warning of more school closures in the years to come. This past November, the school board voted to close 7 schools and restructure 3 others. Months later, they're already looking at the possibility of more. The school board heard a presentation Thursday on the 5-year forecast for enrollment, and it shows the number of students who are enrolled in the district and live in Denver is expected to decline by 8%, which is about 6,000 fewer students.
Maybe a reasonable expectation if the forecast proves to validate that additional recommendations for closures could come by 2030.
Now, the recommendations show future school closures could be possible in the central, northwest, and southwest parts of the city.
This morning, the ongoing battle between Harvard and President Trump continues. The university has filed a legal challenge to President Trump's efforts to block visas for international students planning to attend the school. Late Wednesday, President Trump suspended Harvard from participating in the student visa program. Harvard's complaint says the president's proclamation violates First Amendment rights.
Air Force officials say that the cost to retrofit a Qatari jet into a new Air Force One is probably going to be less than $400 million. Air Force Secretary Troy Mank provided the figure during a hearing before the House Armed Services Committee, where he was grilled about the plane's cost. He did not disclose exactly how the plane will need to be retrofitted before it will be used by President Trump. The Pentagon announced last month that it had accepted the Boeing 747 from Qatar. It is currently parked in San Antonio awaiting these upgrades.
Looking ahead, President Trump's massive military parade will cause delays for some airline passengers. Reagan National Airport says the event will include a military flyover, which will impact airline traffic. The parade is set for the evening of June 14th. Flight data says during that time, 65 flights are scheduled to arrive at Reagan National, about 39 scheduled to depart. The FAA has said it will issue temporary flight restrictions for the Washington, D.C. area during the celebration. The agency is working with defense officials to finalize that flyover plan. It will involve several different types of aircraft.
President Trump's ban on travelers from a dozen countries, primarily in Africa and the Middle East, is set to take effect on Monday. Trump cited security concerns and says that it's hard for the U.S. to vet visitors from those places. His proclamation also partly restricts the entry of people from 7 other countries, and that list does not include Egypt. That's the native country of the man in Sunday's anti-Semitic attack in Boulder. A White House official says that the president made the final decision about the ban after that incident.